I'm going to show you how to do a simple fingerless glove on the 40 peg 3/8 inch gauging. And as you can see, I've already done a huge chunk, and it's because it's pretty standard. It's cast on all the pegs, and you're working circularly, and you knit the first row, and then you knit 3, purl 2, and because it's 40 and you're working with 5 pegs, it ends up even. So you do knit 3, purl 2 for 15 rows, and then you knit 10 rows. And by the way, if you're loving the look of this yarn like I am, what I am using is Lion's brand Boardwalk. So, if you're wondering what I'm using, that's the color. It's in the Lion's brand Boardwalk. And I love this stuff. It's pretty. So, I'm to a point where I'm fixing to show you how to do a thumb. And this is actually a pretty easy pattern. So, we're going to work over a total of 5 pegs. And we're going to knit back and forth for 10 rows. So here's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We're going to knit back and forth for 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. And now we're going to cast off those inner 3 pegs. So we're going to knit 1. Then we're going to E-wrap those next 2. Pull that in. Move over to the next peg. E-wrap those 2, and that gives you a little stretchiness to go around the thumb because we're creating an opening. Move that over. Toss the bottom loop over. Move over and E-wrap 2 one more time. Move that over. Toss the bottom loop over and move to the end. Okay, we've just created an opening. Now we're going to close that opening up. And I'm just going to E-wrap over 5. Now we're closing it back up. So now we're going to knit for 11 rows. So here's row 1, 2, okay, there is your thumb area that you just created right there. Now, I like to make life easier on me on sewing up. You don't actually have to do this if you don't want to. I like to bring up those outer pegs and put them back on those original loops and put them back on. And what you do is you go to the next unworked, you follow the ladder back, and there is your original loop. You pick that up, put it back on there, and you do the same thing over here. You follow that, follow the ladder back, and there you go. Now you just knit all the way around, and then you're going to knit for 15 rows, and then you're going to do the knit 3, purl 2 for 10 rows, and you're going to cast off like I've been showing. And then I'm going to show you the sew up techniques that you might find interesting for this, because I like fingerless gloves, but what I like about them is they're easy to make, but I also have dislikes about them. I think too much air gets up in the hand, and so I'm going to show you how to fix that without having to do fingers. So if you never feel comfortable doing the fingers on the half fingers, this is a way I'm going to show you how to kind of cheat your way out of that and still have the effect of half fingers, but be fingerless and make it easy on you. So go ahead and pause the video and finish the glove up. And just so you know, it works the same on both gloves because we're not doing any special stitch technique. But if you were to do a special stitch technique, you need to keep in mind that you want to divide the loom in half from where your middle section is, and one half has the stitch technique on one hand and the other has the stitch technique on the other half. So if you're wanting to do a fancy stitch technique, keep that in mind, that one glove it should be on one half and the other glove it should be on the other half. So you just kind of flip them over, and that way you don't have to worry about moving your thumb around. Just go ahead and complete the glove, and then I'll go in and show you how to actually sew it up and sew up the thumb, and how to go about doing a special sewing technique around the fingers so that you don't get all that air coming up in there, but has the same feel of half finger gloves. So go ahead and pause the video and complete that much, and then we'll go from there. Okay, here is our finished glove, and when you put it on, you'll notice you'll need to sew up the thumb area, and you'll notice it goes pretty far up on the fingers. Well, what I'm going to show you is you can go in and put a small seam in between each finger, and you can close it off so that not much air gets in there. You can still move the fingers around, but it's like giving it a half finger effect without actually having to do the fingers, if you didn't feel comfortable doing that technique. So what I'm going to do is show you how to go about doing that. But first we're going to need to sew up our thumb. And when sewing up our thumb, we need to make sure that we go to the very, very edges. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to find my very edges. It's going to be right there. Hopefully you can see this well enough. Okay, I'm going to tie that off. Okay. Now you're going to find your very edge, which is going to be that one. You're going to go over here and you find your very edge, which is going to be that one. And the reason why you're finding your edge is you want it to fit nicely and not too snug. And if you don't find your edge, it'll feel way too snug and you won't like it. If you have a fatter thumb, and you need the thumb to be bigger, you can do 6 pegs. You can do the same amount of rows over 6 pegs, but when you go to do your cast off, you just want to make sure you cast off to where it's completely just one stitch on each side, like I did on this thumb. And that's mostly what you want to make sure that you're doing. So there's my edge right there. We want to go here and find my edge over here. Okay. That's one side. Then we'll need to, I just like to lightly weave it. I don't ever like to cut it if I can help it, unless I'm doing the other side. So I usually lightly weave it in there at the top. The less cutting you can do, the better. It means the less you have to hide. So I'm going to stick my finger in there and do that. Okay, now we got to sew up the other side. And we want to make sure we get to those very edges. Because if we don't, it's not going to fit right. So, find those very edges. Which is very important. We want to go in and knot that off. And we'll snip the ends. And then when you turn it right side out, your thumb should be sewn up. There. Now we want to go in and we want to close up these top fingers some. And it might actually be easier to wear the glove when you go in to do this. And you'll find, like I'm going to the base of the finger. I don't know if you can tell, right where the crevice is. And I'm kind of pulling that through. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to stick in the groove, and it'll also keep my seam real even to do it the way I'm doing it. Trying to stick into the groove there, and it'll keep it real nice and even, and you don't see the color as much. If you feel up to wasting yarn to get the exact color, go for it. If not, well, you can do what I'm doing here. Okay. So there's my first one. I'm gonna take this off. close that up. Then what you can do is you can take a crochet hook and pull it through so that you don't see that. And that's what you'll do for each and every one. You'll crochet hook, pull through. But yeah, you'll go in and then you'll do the next one like that. You'll send it through, sew it up, send it through, sew it up, and then you have something that's like a half finger glove without having to actually mess with the fancy fingering. And that is how you go about making a fingerless glove that looks like a half finger glove. And again, this yarn, if you really like the look of this yarn, it's Lion's brand Boardwalk. Boardwalk is the color, and the series is called Landscapes. So it's Lion's brand Landscape Boardwalk, and that's what should come up exactly is this really nice color here. So but yeah, and you'll go in and you'll do that with each finger, and then when you're done, you take a crochet hook and you pull that in. Then what you do is you take these ends and you weave them in until there's no more to weave in, and then that's how you finish the touch-ups. Again, if you want to have a fatter thumb area, you'll need to do 6 pegs rather than 5, and then you just cast off until you have 1 single stitch on either end of the 6 pegs, and that'll give you a little bit bigger of a thumb. But yeah, that's pretty much the fingerless glove and how you make it. And you make 2 exactly the same, and that's pretty easy.